our reference. So I just started. Okay. This webinar is part of the regular raise awareness activities foreseen in the SAM project. And with this webinar, we intend to bring to the general public more information and, of course, awareness about the additive manufacturing technology, its advantages, and, of course, the advantages of starting a training program or an educational course for additive manufacturing. To begin with, I would just like to set a brief look into the purposes of SAM. So SAM, for those who are not familiar with the project, is a project in the field of education that aims to bring together leading experts from different fields. So the idea is to have a collaboration between organizations that are involved in research, development of the technology, development of products. So we have also companies on board, and of course organizations that represent education at both higher education and also vocational education. The SAM project aims to provide a solution capable to foster and support the growth and innovation of the additive manufacturing sector until 2030. The major outcomes of the project are related to the establishment of an European observatory for additive manufacturing, and this observatory is responsible for the identification and anticipation of skills needs for the sector, and according to those needs to prepare and to deliver training courses to ensure that skills of the workers, of the students, are developed and enhanced. As part of the STEM project, we have defined a skills strategy roadmap. And this strategy roadmap outlines the major challenges that currently the additive manufacturing sector faces, but also looking ahead, what are the main challenges and gap drivers that we call them as such, that are driven the development of the sector until 2030. So the strategy, is placing forward strategic activities that will aim to address and to tackle the strategic objectives that are foreseen in the strategy. So the main goal of today with this webinar is to provide you a highlight on about the strategy, how it works, and to focus on 3 of these strategic objectives. In terms of agenda, so the session of today was organized having this in mind. So we will have first an introduction about the International Additive Manufacturing Qualification System, and then we will go through these 3 objectives foreseen in the strategy that correspond to strengthening the collaboration between industry and training organizations, to prepare European, national and regional organizations to tackle challenges of additive manufacturing in terms of qualified personnel. And the third objective is to leverage on existing funding programs and mechanisms. So within this agenda, and as you will see, we will have 2 presentations, and we will have also a panel, discussion panel to address the collaboration between industry and training organizations. So we have with us 6 invited guests, which belong to different fields, from education, from industry, also from the European Commission side at policy level. And our guests, our speakers, will then share their view about these objectives. We hope that this session is meaningful to you, and we hope also that you can participate in the discussion. For that, you can use the chat box to address a question, or you can also use the raise hand button in case you would like to address questions to the speaker. So in terms of organization and format, so we will have first the speakers presentation and moderation also, and then afterwards we will have time to address 1 or 2 questions to our guests. We will also use the Slido tool to have here some interaction, and this we will give you the access to the code so that you can reply live to some of the questions. Okay. So in that case, I will. We can start with our first topic, which is the International Additive Manufacturing Qualification System. We have with us today Beatriz Lopez from EWF. Beatriz is currently the Additive Manufacturing Qualification System Manager at EWF. She started her activity in 2019 in the Federation and is currently involved, apart from the management of the system, also involved in the Erasmus Plus and Horizon 2020 projects. Beatriz has PhD on mechanical engineering in the field of additive manufacturing. Good morning, Beatriz.
Hello, good morning, Adelaide. Good morning, everybody.
So I will stop presenting so that you can then present the system.
Okay. Let me do this. Okay, good. I hope you all can see my screen. Yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So good morning. Thank you for the presentation. I hope you all enjoyed this webinar. And as Adelaide mentioned, I'm here to present the International Additive Manufacturing Qualification System. But actually, I will start by presenting the European AM sector skills strategy that has been developed within the SAM project. That, as Adelaide already mentioned, aims at delivering a common vision that supports the growth of the sector. The added value or the main advantages of this strategy will be detailed in the next few slides, but I will just show you a short video with the overview of what this strategy is about.
Professionals working in the additive manufacturing field require education that ranges from a better understanding of the fundamentals of the additive process to practical tools to mature the ability of operating with a commercial machine and getting confidence with health and safety precautions. So that's the ambition of becoming next generation experts.
Many students are already working now or later in companies that may use additive manufacturing.
The need of upscaling or upgrading is more about the finding new opportunities and new work lines that might be of interest when you know the technology more in depth.
So as you can understand here from the video and also align with the work this webinar today, the focus of the strategy is to tackle the lack of AM personnel and skills in workers, and also to prepare the training organizations to address these qualifications of personnel. But looking at the strategy itself, we at SAM project have been able to identify 7 gap drivers, which are considered as the main challenges that are being tackling to implement the AM or to grow the AM sector. And for them, we have also identified objectives and concrete actions, and also the estimated impact related that I will now present in more detail. The first gap driver is the mismatch between industry needs and educational or training offer. So here the idea is to reduce the skill gaps and ensure alignment between the training offer and the industry needs. So which means that we need to ensure the engagement of the industry in the identification and validation of the skills and also the qualifications or the training programs that are developed. Also to support these developments in standards for AM, and finally ensure a link between stakeholders of the whole AM value chain in terms of skills needed. The second gap driver is the competition for skilled AM workers and lack of knowledge of AM from existing workers or students. So this is related with the difficulties in finding people with the right skills and the know-how to cover the whole value chain of the AM. And our objective here is to increase the number of AM qualified personnel, being by reskilling, upskilling, or by training the new workforce. For this, we need to facilitate the access to AM training, and this has been mainly done at a higher level or for higher education, but we need also to consider the vocational educational and training. We need also to develop some European tools to recognize the prior learning of some of the workers that already worked with AM related technologies. Regarding the methodologies, it's important to support the implementation of new methodologies and facilitate a continued European collaboration between the training providers. The gap driver number 3, shortage of training centers, especially at vocational education and training level, capable of delivering AM training. So here the objective is to facilitate the access of professionals and students and industry to the AM training. Here is important to support in the development of national cooperations networks of training centers. Also ensure the engagement of these different training organizations in the update and implementation of international qualifications, and also important to support the development and implementation of a curriculum that is harmonized and can be recognized across different countries. Number 4, sector and process specific requirements for AM that needs to be also reflected on the qualifications of personnel. This gap drivers addresses the challenge of find the specific requirements for AM that is being used across the different sectors. In this case, we need to guarantee that the training is updated and validated for the different sectors. So we need to make sure that we involve stakeholders from the different sectors that are applying additive manufacturing in the identification and validation of skills and qualifications, to assure or make sure that we have an AM process specific skills and qualifications for the sector, and ensure a common base for the qualifications that will allow the mobility of the workers between sectors and countries. Gap driver number 5, we have the fast evolving technology and industry. So additive manufacturing is actually fast evolving technology, and we need to make sure that we are able to anticipate the needs and trends in AM to have them in our qualifications. So in terms of actions, we need to continue monitoring the AM technology developments, invest in continuing professional developments of teachers and trainings. Here, the training the trainers is also very important for this gap driver, and make sure that we are able to identify the trends in time. Gap driver number 6, lack of AM awareness among the younger generations. Here it's important to increase the number of people or students trained in AM. For this, we can organize some events that are adapted or customized for different groups. So ensure that the sector or the process-specific AM skills or qualifications are identified and addressed, and also develop the use of these different groups to make sure that we can achieve achieve the different groups of students or ages with the right skills. Finally, the gap driver number 7 is the necessity of more infrastructures for AM training. Here is regarding the needs for access for AM training, which of course needs a greater access to funding to support this AM related skills development sustainment. That I think that we also will have more information in this section or the presentation after me. So now that I've presented you the strategy, the sector skill strategy for the AM sector, I will present you the International Additive Manufacturing Qualification System, or the IAMQS, in which our mission is to implement this system in the market by creating a network of training centers. This system is actually based on the manufacturing qualification system that EWF developed almost 30 years ago, and has been started by the needs of connecting the industry with the industry and education with manufacturing industry. So it's one of the main pillars of the system that I'm showing here today. As I mentioned, is one of the main pillars for the methodology of development of these qualifications, but in fact we have 5 important aspects. The first is to be aligned with the requirements of the industry, something that we also do by our close contact with standardization bodies. EWF is actually coordinating the technical committee responsible for personal qualifications for AM from ISO and ASTM. So we make sure that the qualifications developed in the system are aligned with the standards that have been developing for personal qualifications. Second, we have national requirements. Our qualifications are created, are aligned with European tools as the EQF levels and EU learning outcomes approach. It's important to be to keep up with the fast evolving technology, something that I already mentioned. So we keep a close relation with research institutions and also with industry to have a close observation of the market. And finally, higher education and vocational education and training and different levels of skills, something that we consider in our system. As I mentioned, the importance of achieve different targets or different students. Here we have developed not only a qualification but a complete system that is a professional education system that addresses both vocation education and training and higher education, and is based on different skills leveling according to different proficiency levels. I will then explain a bit more when I mention the qualifications that we have already in place. Regarding the structure or the structure to assure the quality of the system, we have here 3 main roles. The first is the technical committees or the working groups that are responsible for developing the guidelines, the rules and procedures. We have our authorized nominated bodies, or the ANBs, that are responsible for supervising and implementation of the system. And finally, we have the approved training centers, or ATBs, that are the ones that actually implement the training. This quality assurance rule or structure is based on an ISO standard for certification of personnel that has been adapted, in which different organizations are responsible for the training process and for the examination process. And in this way, we can assure that the diplomas issued in the different training centers or the different ANBs can be recognized across the different countries. Now, here, with the objective of reinforcing the connection between the industry and the training provided, in our qualification system, we have a structure composed by two main councils, the Qualification Council and the Industry Council. The objective of having this Qualification Council is mainly to develop and approve the training guidelines and also to implement the training courses. And from the Industrial Council, we expect to receive actually the trends in additive manufacturing, the needs of training, and the recommendations and prioritization of needs from them. At this stage, we have already two qualification councils in place. So we have a metal working group and a polymers working group that are led by Dr. David Wimpeni and Dr. Paula Capo, and our industrial council also already working from this year, led by Dr. Martin Scheffer from Siemens. Just to give you an idea of the qualifications that we have already. So these are the metal AM qualifications that have been developed within the system. We have qualifications for AM operators, for AM engineers, for designers and supervisor. Here, I think it's just important to mention that this is a modular system, which means that we have short modules or competence units that cover specific topics. And it's also important to understand that at the expense of more contact hours or with more competence units on top of the ones already accomplished, it's possible to achieve higher levels of qualification. So we have the AM operator aligned with metal AM coordinator, which means that we can, by doing some more competence units, you can achieve a higher level within this system. Here we have the new qualifications that have been developed also within some project. We have an AM polymer design that is a new profile being launched right now. We have also developed a competence unit in business for additive manufacturing and another one for certification, qualification and standardization to give an overview of these three concepts that are so important in AM. Finally, we have here the objective of, or the main focus of this system. So our objective is to create a network of training centers and establish this international AM system in the world, if possible. We have already started our work within Europe, and we are now expanding the system to other places. So my final message is come and collaborate with us. So if you are a potential training center for AM, or if you are interested in joining the European network of experts in AM, or would like to support the development of skills in AM, and also if you are a student and you want to learn, or a worker and to learn more about AM, you can get in contact with us and be part of this international additive manufacturing qualification system. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions for me, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Beatriz, for your presentation. So we have the possibility to address one question to Beatriz about either the strategy that was presented or even the international AM qualification system. So in case you would like to
I think
address.
we have already a question in the chat.
Yes, we have from Mr. Julien Baloger. What about metal bidergenting? Is there anything foreseen in terms of development?
Yeah, it is actually, it's a very interesting question because we have been a lot of discussions regarding this topic. We are actually starting the development of this competence unit for metal biderjetting in the next month, also within the SAM project, and will probably be piloted within the SAM project and available from November. Correct me, Adelaide.
Yes, exactly. The development is foreseen until September, and implementation possibly more close to the end of the year, so November or January.
Yes. Yeah, but it's definitely an important important technology or a process to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. We have also a question from Ger Kelly. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. Are these qualifications micro credentials, or are they something different? Are they the same?
No, they're not the same. They're not micro credentials. I think you need to help me here answering this question.
So, in terms of, so we have not yet established the micro credentials system within the qualification system. Although what is foreseen is that for each person completing successfully the training modules, they will receive a record of achievement, stating exactly what he or she learned, and they can progress and have a cumulative accumulate this record of achievements and show this as an evidence to progress within the qualification. That's the case. So it's recognized, so it's formally recognized the achievements of taking part of one module, one competence unit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no further questions, I would just like to ask you, Beatriz, in case one of the participants would like to learn more about additive manufacturing or take part of this course, what should she or he do to start a course within the system?
Well, first of all, thank you, Alessandra, for sharing here in the chat. So it's already available, all the courses that are running already within the project, so we can check them in SAM project website. And that's in fact a good option if you want. Also, in case if you want you can contact us or contact any training center that is already authorized for the system, or just get in contact with them, or by the SAM project website, as Alessandra already shared with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Beatriz.
Thank you.
So we will then continue the webinar with our panel, our discussion panel, to address the collaboration between industry and training organizations. Before giving the floor to the panel, we would also like to know where do you come from? So to identify if we have majority of the participants today belonging either to industry or to education or even research. So I have just included in the chat the Slido. The code is 441637. Let me also share with you my screen, okay, so that we can go together. So this is the code. And what I will ask you is then to to go to Slido and to introduce the code to reply then to the first question. In the meantime, let me introduce you to the panel, the discussion panel, that is giving specific contributions about the activities that are required to strengthen the collaboration between industry and training organizations. We have with us Bianca Maria Colissimo from Politecnico di Milano, so from Polimi. Bianca is a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering of the Politecnico, and she is also the head deputy of the Department of Mechanical Engineering and co-founder of the ADMI Lab, which is a research laboratory on additive manufacturing of the Politecnico. We have also with us Mr. Matthias Merker from Otto Brenner Schuler in Hanover. Mr. Matthias is an instructor and chair of international affairs of the organization of the school. And finally, we have with us Elvira Leon, which is the co-founder and CEO of the Advanced Manufacturing Technologies, so a company that was created with the aim of addressing and developing solutions for industry related to additive manufacturing and also digital inventories. Ms. Elvira Leon is also the European chair of the Women in 3D Printing Association, and she is the chair of this organization representing Europe. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bianca.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again, Mr. Matthias.
Good morning.
And Elvira, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So I will just see where we are in terms of representation. So we have with us the majority of the participants belonging to higher education. So almost the majority belongs to academia. We have also 31% of the audience representing vocational education and training organizations, and 23% we have researcher centers, and also 15% of the professional association and 8% of industry. Okay. This is still changing, so people are still voting, but we see that academia is mostly represented. Okay. So the first question that I would like to address to you is, in this case, Bianca, how is Polimi collaborating with industry currently? So which solution activities do you currently undertake
during training? Sure.
In your organization.
Yeah. We have a lot of, let's say, connections starting from the master level. Master level, we have a course on additive manufacturing, and additive manufacturing is also embedded in some course on advanced manufacturing. And what we are doing usually is include, let's say, industry during the training path. Just to provide you with an example, this year we have been launching an open data challenge with Trumpf, just taking data from their machine for, let's say, solving problems related with using the data with some artificial intelligence for in situ monitoring of additive manufacturing processes. And all the students have been playing with the real data coming from the company. And on the other side, the company was willing to see results of this data competition. So it was a win-win from the two sides, because on the one side, the students have the possibility of getting in touch with some real, let's say, industrial needs, and so start thinking about how companies are willing to have some specific, let's say, knowledge for engineers that are then in a few years going out. And on the other side, the company has the possibility of just playing with students with some open challenge they have. So other type of, let's say, approach we are inviting companies to describe the field of research and the field of, let's say, industrial needs they are foreseeing in the future for our students. There are the possibility from the viewpoint of our student to have some thesis path together with the company. So going close to the end of their path, having some connection. And again, we are going ahead with companies when the students are out, so in some sort of professional training, because we are asked by companies to have some training path that the company is looking for, especially in the additive. They really need a lot of upskilling and reskilling. And so as a university, we are trying sometimes also connecting with some PhD, so moving a little bit far from the master level, and again, having people from companies together with PhD students attending a course on additive and having some sort of joint project. So I think that the real way for having a win-win solution is from the one side, students learning by doing, and on the other side, having companies that are showing their needs to the students and to professional or PhD students.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Also, from the vocational educational side, Mr. Matthias, do you have the same synergies with companies? We know that in your case, Otto Brenner Schule is in Germany, where the dual system is predominant. So there is already some possibility of have combined learning programs. Is this the case, or do you have also different activities foreseen in your organization?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, we play on a different field here. We are part of the dual system in Germany, which is an apprenticeship program training our young people in technical, for example, technical professions. We also train them in other fields. But here at Otto Brenner Schule, we focus on mechanical and electrical engineering. And so for us, it's a kind of shared responsibility with industry and the vocational field. What does that mean? Here we have two partners involved in this cooperation. On the one hand, you have the companies or industry, and on the other hand, you have the vocational college. And they are responsible for the training of their skilled workers, of young people. So usually they join a contract or they sign a contract with a company and become official member of staff for about 3.5 years. What do we do? On the one hand, we have the companies who basically equip their young employees with the knowledge and skills in theory and practice. So they enable them to solve problems in a real working environment practically, and they also offer them special training courses in case industry, whether the employer requires special skills for special purposes, like, for example, additive manufacturing. We, on the other hand, in our college, play a different role. First of all, we have to equip them with general and vocational competences related to the training occupation. And we also enhance the general education by offering special courses in math or social studies, something like that. At the end of this training period, we have a final exam consisting of 2 parts, which guarantees that the young people are certified craftspeople. And the whole exam is supervised by our chambers of commerce and industry. When we talk about additive manufacturing, it's not a special course. It's included in the curriculum and in the training regulations of a special apprenticeship program. Let me give you an example. We have a program called Tools Maker or Tools Mechanics. It's an apprenticeship for about 3.5 years, and it consists of about, as far as I remember, 14 different teaching modules distributed over these 3.5 years. And in the third year, they have a module number 9, manufacturing of shaping tool surfaces. So this is the official title of this teaching module. Now we already reached a critical point. We have officially 60 hours to deal with this module. Then we have to move on, which is not a lot of time, as you may imagine. And let me give you a best practice example. A colleague of mine planned, designed, constructed, and commissioned 3D printers. It took him and his group of students approximately 30 weeks or 300 hours, weekends included. And now remember, 60 hours officially. And you may imagine this cannot be done during our regular classes, regular class sessions. But he created an extracurricular activity here by bringing together different professions, cutting machine operators, tools mechanics, who were very interested in this. And so they worked on this project. But the problem here is that here in our field, we simply do not have these resources to specifically train people in this new technology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Understand. So somehow you are also already addressing some of the challenges that
Yes.
You face as a vocational center to have the right trainers, and also the constraints with finding equipping also all the school. I would just like to hear from also the industry perspective. Elvira, do you have any ongoing program or cooperation with any of a vocational school, or in this case in the shape of apprenticeships, or do you collaborate regularly with universities? How is your activity as a company related to link with education?
Yes, sure. We are collaborating in some ways with different institutions, with different training institutions, supporting them to build their programs. And in some cases also collaborating, providing contents in that programs. Recently, we have collaborated with a relevant institution in Madrid that is to develop a training program focused on technicians, on professional training. That will start next October, and it's an a specialization course focused on additive manufacturing technicians with a quite complete training program. Besides to that, we also provide specific training focused on business for additive manufacturing. It is mainly developed for management, for decision makers, and addresses all aspects related with feasibility, with implantation roadmaps, with economical aspects and business aspects. And we work in this specific training in developing a practical use case related with the industry. This training is mainly focused and offered to companies to help them to identify the applications, possibilities, and the business that they could bring from additive manufacturing. That is something that is quite it's difficult for companies to decide go into additive manufacturing, implant or integrate technology if they don't have a clear return of investment. So it's something that we have identified as a gap, and is very well received from companies. And besides to that, we also provide grants for students to work with us in our development activities. And we have some employees with training contract just to get familiar with additive manufacturing.
What would you say that is the major challenges within establishing this collaboration, this cooperation with training organizations, from your perspective?
Yeah, from our experience, something that is a challenge in the development of a very complete training, or comprehensive, I would say, more than complete, because it's important to have in mind that the technology have different aspects that have to be addressed in different ways. And I don't think that it could be possible to have an expert in additive manufacturing for everything that is involved with the technology. So for me, there are, I would say, two main challenges related with the training of the workforce. Is that what I would say, the digital and physical confluence. The technology is a special process. We know that it implies that there is an important aspect related with how the process is conducted on the final results. So this this process has to be monitored, has to be controlled in some way, and that implies that it is not only related with the physical process, but also with the digital aspect of the technology. So in most of the trainings, they are quite focused on the process itself. It is some of them focus on the design for additive manufacturing, and but in some cases there is a lack on joining these two aspects of digital and physical process, and related with the different digital technologies and digital competencies that should be addressed to have a comprehensive view of the technology. For me, that is quite a challenge in terms of training and application to the industry and to the practical use of the technology. And also we have found some lack also on addressing the applicability of the different technologies. It is very important for industries to find the right use cases that make the technology competitive against other traditional technologies. And this kind of knowledge it is not very well known from the people who are not trained in additive manufacturing, but also from the people that is trained in additive manufacturing. In some cases, they are very focused in technology, in design, and there could be some lack in terms of applicability and competitiveness of the technology. That's my view.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bianca, do you share the same constraints as Elvira has pointed, or do you identify other difficulties in establishing collaboration, in this case, with industry?
Yeah, for sure. I think I fully agree with what was said by Elvira at this point in time. What I see on the other side is that additive, it's really an amazing technology for attract new generation moving close to manufacturing. So I've been always working on manufacturing. I think this is the time in which all students are really willing to stay close to the technology, because the technology has some sort of, let's say, fascinating also a story to be said, and also a lot of problems to be solved. So from my side, I see a lot of students that are really interested in providing their viewpoint. If we are able to drive them in the right direction, and I think this is the responsibility also of some sort of connection between the industrial needs from one side and the university and research institution from the other side, I think we can really change the competition, even if there's some, let's say, transient. So it's not just the 0-1. Clearly, there are people that are trained during, for instance, their master courses, but also their thesis. Some of our students have been doing the thesis by building some small machines or putting their hands on new solution. And the technology on the other side is really growing at a fast rate and changing at a fast rate. So the connection between who is doing research in industry and university and who is also educating is quite strict. So what I'm saying is, by combining all these different viewpoints, I'm quite sure that there is a huge momentum at this point in time that we have to take advantage of. And from my viewpoint, I cannot really wait for the students to defend their thesis that they already find a job in industry. So it means that this is going to be an attractive path, but also successful path, because it's some competencies that are really needed. So my viewpoint is positive, completely positive. The only issue is that we need to push, and we need to wait a little bit more to have this, let's say, new wave of people with a new knowledge going in the industry little by little.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Mr. Merker, also from your side, what would you say is the major challenge that you face within the collaboration? So you mentioned also some aspects related to the capacitation of the training centers. Is there any other challenges that comes to you?
Okay, yeah, as there is nothing like an AM technician here in our vocational world or training world. We have to incorporate this into the training program. As I gave you the example, the tools mechanics. And let me give you another example. We work on printing of engine blocks, and that's also been mentioned already, but we do not do it for the activity itself, but we do this in order to optimize production processes. So we use AM in order to solve another problem here, like production processes. But as I mentioned before, it's very limited because we do not have these resources. When we train our young people, we have to cover so many different teaching modules and different activities that here we are really restricted. But I agree with my partners here. We have to control this process. That's why we usually have a discourse in our dual system, where we identify challenges and try to, in case it works out fine, we try to identify these challenges and we go for them, because for us, this means progress, and for our college system and for industry itself, this pays out as a competitive advantage here, because then we are very, we graduate well-qualified young people. And just to give you a third and a last example, I told you about these 3D printers, the construction, commissioning, and so on of 3D printing. Now, for the next academic year, already 12 students from different fields signed up and want to work or want to become part of this extracurricular activity where they work with AM technology, where they plan, design, and finally construct a new thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I will address then a last question also to the audience through the Slido. So what needs to be done in the future to bridge education and industry? So this question is for all. I would start by Bianca, Professor Bianca. What needs to be done in the future to bridge education and industry? You mentioned that it's important to guide these young people and to attract their interest within the technology. What else do we still need to do?
I think we need to keep them connected to the university. So as soon as they are moving far, we have clearly a lot of connection with industry, depending on our research connection and education connection. But on the other side, I really believe that having our students with a specific training on AM, going then in the industry and having their own path and keeping the connection with them. Now it's really easy for keeping connection thanks to LinkedIn and all the type of, let's say, connection you may want to have. It's a really important to have some give back and being able also to have a feedback from them to what is needed, because they have been going through the path, so they know what we have been offering them, what is the gap. And so I think that this continuous exchange is going to create a more balanced connection between industrial needs on the one side and education on the other side.
Thank you very much. Mr. Matthias, what, picking up on Bianca idea of connecting and keeping the track of the students, do you also feel that this is something that is missing currently? How do you establish the follow-up to your students, and what do you feel is still needed to be done?
Yeah, I agree. This is the basic challenge we face in the dual system. As I mentioned earlier, we need to cover so many different aspects here that we cannot just exclusively focus on AM. But what we do here is to offer them these extracurricular activities in order to come up, to go into depth here. As I said, we have officially 60 hours to cover this topic here. You may imagine that you just scratch at the surface a little bit. But with extracurricular activities, you can develop many more activities, and then you can bring them into contact with companies. And this is why I'm grateful that we have this kind of cooperation, that we cannot do it only in-house, but we also cooperate with companies who specialize in AM technology, who have the equipment and who have the personnel in order to qualify our young people a little bit. And this is also done. So people, our young students, for example, just use the resources of their employers, of their company, in order to come up with practical solutions, which they bring back to our college.
Thank you very much. To conclude, Elvira, what would you say that is still missing in your perspective to bridge education and industry?
I fully agree that we need to keep contact between education and industry, keep continue with this contact, because we have to bear in mind that the technology is evolving very fast. There are many developments, new technologies, new levels of maturity of current technologies. So it's very important that we could keep this contact, this connection with education, and also to give flexibility to training programs to get updated, and also to be aware of the specific needs of industry as soon as we also evolve in terms of needs. So very important to keep this connection and flexibility in training programs.
Thank you very much for pointing this activities still missing nowadays, and for pointing also the need to have more flexibility in the curricular programs, which indeed is very important to keep aware what are the concrete industry needs and the student needs, and to have training programs that can adjust to those. From the audience, you can see only 2 participants joined the discussion, so it was mentioned that more dialogue is required, more collaboration, more activities, combined activities working together, and a comprehensive view before collaboration. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but we have still the opportunity in case any of the participants of the audience would like to address one questions to the speakers. So feel free to do so, either using the chat or raising your hand so that I can give you the floor. So I don't think there are any questions for the panel. Okay, so from my side, I have to thank you very much to the 3 of you for your inspired discussion. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon, and I hope that you still remain with us for the rest of the webinar.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So continue now with a different topic, which is well, not so much different, although it's connected with strengthening the collaboration between industry and training organization, is the preparation of the training centers at European, national and regional level to tackle the challenges of qualifying personnel for additive manufacturing and more broadly to these technological areas. We have with us Margarida Segard. Hello, Margarida.
Hello.
Hello. We are very pleased to have you with us today. Margarida Segard is the director at ISQ Academy and also vice president of the European Association for Vocational Education and Training Institutes. Margarida today is giving us a best practice of a vocational excellence center in Portugal, ISQ Academy. Margarida, we would like to hear from your experience. So from ISQ Academy side, what have you, which activities, resources, and have you been implementing to address the challenging qualifying personnel in technological areas?
Thank you, Adelaide, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, EWF, for inviting us to share a little bit our experience as a center of excellence, what we call the COVI. We are considered a center of excellence, and we are very focused on STEAM skills, and also we are very focused in adult training, not only for different adults, low qualified, middle jobs, very high tech qualified, and it doesn't matter if they are jobless or if they are working. We deliver training in-house. We deliver also training in our centers, and we help other companies to create their own academy and training centers, not only in Portugal, but outside Portugal. So, and maybe that's the reason why we were asked to share a little bit our experience as a VET center, a center of excellence in technology for STEAM skills, where AM is becoming in the center of our concerning, and we are glad that from time to time, we have some requests and we identified some opportunities to work and to collaborate with companies, because it's still, as our colleagues in the previous panel told, we feel that it's still, I mean, we need to create more awareness in companies, in SMEs, in these clusters, economical clusters, about the importance and about I mean, that problem solving contexts concerning AM. It's not very well known. And we need to do a lot. And I think what you are doing in this SAM project, in this SAM platform, it's very important. I mean, we'd like to have these in so much more technological activities, and we desperately need these. So I think most of you know a little bit ISQ. I was looking at some names that I know, and it's quite a pleasure to be here. We prefer to do it in a face-to-face way because we miss it a lot. But just ISQ, we are not just a VET center, although I put in the slide as a VET center. So actually, we are a technological company. We have a lot of research. We have the headquarters in Lisbon. We work in more than 40 countries. We deliver engineering services, projects, consultancy, technical inspections. We are supported by a very intensive research and development activities, where European projects take a very important place. And we have also 16 accredited laboratories, and also VET training centers, some in Portugal. Of course, we deliver training in several countries as well. Concerning this, just to give you some examples about the high level of participating in this digital transformation wave from last couple of years till now, and the responsibility of ISQ. Actually, ISQ is leading one of the digital innovation hubs in technology, where we have inside robotics, automation, IoT, big data, 3D printing, advanced manufacturing, and so on. Focus on digital transformation, basically in SMEs. We have, and this is focused on industry mainly, we have also a digital innovation focused on maritime and blue economy. We are not leading, we are partners. And also another one in defense and military. So, and we participate in another one concerning automotive. So it means that if you look at these kind of sectors, AM is there. If you ask me if we are doing a lot of work concerning AM and if it's one of our core business, no, it's not. But we'd like to do it. We'd like to have it as a core business. And I believe in the future we'll have so much more activity. And that's why we are working on this as a VET center and a center of excellence. We have around per year here in an ISQ Academy, we train around 30,000 people per year, which is quite impressive for Portugal. we are small, and sometimes we can train so much more, especially when we are supporting other big companies in creating their own training academies, because we stay there in the first moments. But so what I would like to share, it's like EWF encourages, is looking at our success factors and success main drivers as a center of excellence, a European center of excellence, a national center of excellence, and also regional sector of excellence, because I think we think global, but we act local in Portugal, and we know that we are acting local, and it's very important. So, and I will mention you six main drivers as and some of them you already mentioned. So, in the first one, and it's a factor of success, it's strong partnerships with business and industries. Without that, we would not exist. So it's the main way of being in life as a vet provider. The other one is innovation. The third one is internationalization. The fourth one, investment in training methodologies, including equipments and trainers. The other one is sustainability, where the greening is inside, but not only the greening, the financial one as well. And the sixth one is corporate knowledge and resilience. This is something that we are talking about a couple of years ago, but actually resilience, it's a new one, and we are absolutely sure of this, especially when we go through a crisis. And in this crisis, we learn a lot, and this is embedded in our management models. So, concerning just a few words concerning the first one, strong partnerships. Our staff, myself, our colleagues who spend a lot of time in companies. We are consultants. We are the best as consultants, as trainers, as vendors, marketeers, as researchers. We are the best business antennas. Open your eyes and your heart as well as believers, but bring what companies need. And sometimes we are discovering new skills gap, new needs, new problems to solve. So new opportunities to train, to create new skills. Another thing it's important, it's partnerships for equipments. Concerning this partnership, there's no so much money for equipments in the training centers, and we know that. Our Europe, it's not only Germany and Austria. We have a lot of the same problem in at least half of our countries, and here in Portugal, like in a lot of countries, we have, as a private vet provider, we are not able to use the public money for our equipment. So we need to find, I was having problems here with the lamp. We need to find another way to have equipment, and the best way is partnerships with manufacturers, and also with companies that already have these equipments. So that's why, and also concerning this partnership, we need to use it to do. And thank you, Elvira, because each time I hear it's important to have these gender campaigns and to have a strong push concerning putting young ladies, more mature ladies in this area, and it's very important that we start to do it with ladies. They are not in our training centers, and we are organizing a lot of campaigns with companies. So AM, it's a good example. It starts to be demanded by the companies. We start to deliver and create our small training programs now with serious quality criteria, assessment, and so on, in all of these areas that are already mentioned by Elvira in a very clear way. So actually, and we are using in our vet center micro credentials in several STEAM activities for training courses, to build training academies for other companies, and micro credentials when we work and we create for several sectors. I believe, and it was one of the questions, I believe that EWF, it's on the perfect way to transform these small units in micro-credential, because concerning rigor and confidential and trusts and the assessments way, you are very good on that, and you have a very strong quality system. And I hope, and I know that in the near future, we'll have something from your side. So I don't have so much time. I just want to attract your attention also concerning the innovation, the second thing. We need to create these new programs, and in AM we need to have new programs, short-term, different targets, and this is what we are using. In Portugal, we still don't have the 60 hours that our colleague mentioned. We still don't have it in the national qualification framework. So we still have, we are a couple of years behind, I'm sorry, and we need to be encouraged to put there more things. So we need to create our own programs. And yes, we already created a training course for constructors of 3D printing. After these sessions, everybody were coming out with their own 3D printing. We started to do it 3 or 4 years ago. And then we start to create other programs around. But we need to be more solid, and that's why we need to have this kind of support of this network and of the European Welding Federation. So
thank you very much, Margarida. Unfortunately, we will have to close your session. Thank you very much for highlighting our activity also in this field. We are gradually implementing the system. Hopefully, we will have credit also the credits. We hope soon. And thank you for pointing the main drivers. The success factors related to the COVs, the Centers for Excellence activity. Without further delays, for the last session, we have Mr. João Santos with us. Thank you very much for your participation today. João Santos is senior expert at the European Commission, more concretely at the DG for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion. This unit is responsible for vocational education and training, as well for policy orientation related to the Erasmus Plus program. It's a pleasure to have you with us to address the possibilities and funding programs and mechanisms that are available from the Commission side.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Adelaide, and to all the participants in the meeting. I will try in the next few minutes. I understand we are quite delayed. I don't know if we can go beyond 11:30 or if because...
we can have more 5 minutes.
Okay.
So we will go until 11:35. Yes.
Okay, fine. So I will, if you don't mind, I'll share my presentation quickly, and I'll try to go. Some of the slides I'll possibly have to go very quickly over them. But can you see the presentation already?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you know, it's always a good opportunity for me to come to these meetings because it is a way of understanding a little bit better the work you are doing, because you know, in Erasmus Plus we finance around 600 projects every single year, not only on blueprints of course, but we finance around 600 projects every single year, not counting with mobility, and therefore it's impossible for us in Brussels to know everything that is going on. But I very much like this model you've developed, in which you have strategic objectives, you identify the gap drivers in each of these objectives, and then there's one in particular that I thought was interesting in focusing, which is this gap driver number 3 on the shortage of training centers, because we have other mechanisms that help address this as well. But I like the model, the way you've developed it, with strategic objectives, the gap drivers, and then having a comprehensive framework in which you pursue your strategy for skills in additive manufacturing. What I'll try now is to go more on what we are doing at the European level. First, give you a global perspective of how the things we do in the financial area link with what is the policy objectives. Because of course, you know, all the funding we have at the European level is not just for the sake of funding projects. It has a wider context of policy drive or where we want to go. And I would put at the center of this the European Pillar of Social Rights, because as you know, we have adopted this. There was a first proposal back in 2018, and just recently in the city of Porto in Portugal, you had the social summit where important commitments were taken on board on this. But within this aspect of the Pillar of Social Rights, we also have the European Skills Agenda, of course, the European Education Area, the Pact for Skills that we launched, the European Industrial Strategy, and I would say that all of these elements sort of give a strategic framework in what direction we should be pursuing the work we do in education and training, but also beyond that in the social field. And I mentioned the European Pillar of Social Rights mainly because you might be aware that the first principle of the 20 principles of the pillar is precisely on education and ensuring that we provide, everyone in Europe, the member states, the social partners, we work towards ensuring that everyone, and that's the aspect of inclusive, everyone has the right to education, training, and lifelong learning. So it's not only the young people that need training, but also the upskilling and reskilling of all the adults. And this is very important for the work we are doing. And then another objective of the Pillar of Social Rights is to make sure that, you know, in the recovery we have now, we have these, of course, these big transitions, the green and the digital, but we also have to recover of all the crises that COVID somehow imposed on us. And it is important this recovery is not done just looking at the economic aspects, at the innovation aspects, but looking in a comprehensive way to make sure that social is at the center of our concern. So we don't want an economy that is very prosperous and doesn't care about people, that doesn't have good working conditions for people or quality work. We want really the recovery to be done in a wider context of social justice. And you might know, and I mentioned the Porto Summit, Social Summit, and there was an agreement among the member states, the social partners, all the various institutions to focus on 3 big targets. And I think all of them are very much related to education and training, although the central one that you see there of having 60% of the adults participating in education and training is the one that is obviously more linked to us. But even if you look at employment levels, you raise employment levels by making sure that people are qualified, that not only the young, but the adults are continuously qualified, and that's very important. And also the third target on reducing the risk of poverty. Once again, education and training in many cases is the route to empower people to be active in society and to get quality jobs. So this is that education and training is at the center of, I would say, everything we do, even in the social domain. An important initiative within within the skills agenda, I would say, is the Pact for Skills. We've had until now more than 400 commitments, although this has just been launched very recently. And what we really want is to make society understand that skills is not only a matter for education and training sector, but it is really a societal challenge. That today, because of the fast speed of change, you cannot expect universities and VET providers to adapt by themselves the curricula to meet the demands of companies, but companies have to understand that they've got to work with vocational schools, with universities, to make sure that they have not only what Margarida was saying, you know, access to equipment that it's not possible for the schools to have, but really work together to identify what are the future skill needs and how can we work together to make sure that the people coming out of the education and training system are coming empowered with the skills that the economy needs. So this is what we're trying to achieve with the Pact for Skills, large consortia of partners coming together, so beyond the education and training sector, coming together to address this challenge of upskilling and reskilling. Now, going into the funding opportunities for skills that we have at the European level. I mean, I just tried to list a few of them over there, and they are more than this, but just to see, it would be impossible in the short few minutes you gave me to go in detail in all of them. So I'll only focus on Erasmus Plus, because it's the one where from a European level we can sort of fine tune it more or target it in a better way. But of course, at the national level, you've got the European Social Fund, the European Regional Development Fund, and the priorities, they are decided by the member states, although there's a general framework that they've got to plan the things with. But even I would mention the Recovery and Resilience facility, not faculty, there's an error there. The Recovery and Resilience Facility, where there's a significant amount of resources for the member states to prepare the recovery from COVID, but with the important focus on upskilling and reskilling. In fact, one of these priorities or flagships is precisely on that. But this is to give an idea of the general framework of financial opportunities that exist. But always remember that these financial opportunities exist not in a void, but in order to achieve the strategic objectives that I mentioned. In particular, I just gave you an overview of what we are doing in the skills field, but of course there are other aspects as well. Now, going to the Erasmus program very quickly, in the current programming period, there's been almost a doubling of the budget. I don't think there's any other program that had a doubling of the budget. And this is, I think, a recognition by the member states and the European institutions that skills should continue to be a central focus of what we are doing at the European level, and of course of the success of the Erasmus program. 26 billion will be available in the next 7 years, so not million, billion in the next 7 years. And of these, 21 billion for education and training, and a significant part of it for vocational education and training and adult learning as well. Now, just to focus on the areas, on the activities that are more of relevance, because, you know, Erasmus program is very wide. I'm just going to focus on a few activities, on 3 in particular, which are relevant for the project that you are doing now, if you are thinking of upgrading it or going further in the future. The first one is the Partnerships for Innovation, Key Action 2, these alliances for innovation, which is open to all education and training sectors, so not only VET or higher education, all of them are open for this. And it is focusing on innovation and multidisciplinary approaches to teaching and learning, corporate social responsibility, entrepreneurial attitudes. And these, you can have projects that are lasting 2 years or 3 years, and it's basically an average 500,000 euros for each year. These are grants that are given, usually 80% of the total of the project. But this is very much in line with what was the Knowledge Alliances in the previous Erasmus program, for those that are familiar with it. Then a successor to the sectoral blueprint, in which some is being financed. So this is continuing with the sectoral blueprints. For this year in particular, we published the call on the 25th of March, as you know. The applications are open until the 7th of September. And basically, we want sectors that are included under the 14 industrial ecosystems that were published in the industrial strategy on the 5th of March. So, but this is very much what you are doing right now, focusing on a sectoral approach to understand what are the skill needs of the future and ensure that the education system is providing for that. So now I'm going to the project which I am most involved with right now, which is the Centers of Vocational Excellence, of course. And Margarida was from the ISQ was very right of saying that she has a Center of Vocational Excellence, because Centers of Vocational Excellence are not only those that are funded by Erasmus Plus. In fact, we inspired the idea for the Centers of Vocational Excellence that we are funding in Erasmus Plus because of the reality that is out there, because of the project that we saw, like the one that ISQ is pursuing, and we try to come up with a financial instrument to support this, to replicate this. But it's important to say that Centers of Vocational Excellence don't necessarily have to be funded by Erasmus Plus. But we are trying to do this, and I think there's a significant difference between what you are doing on the sectoral blueprint and what we want from the Centers of Vocational Excellence, in the sense that you are sector focused. You are looking at a specific sector. What we want with the Centers of Vocational Excellence is to come up with a set a mechanism, a set of activities that help modernize the vocational education and training system. We want the vocational system throughout Europe to be co-creating skills ecosystems at the local level that support innovation, regional development, cluster strategies, smart specialization strategies, and in the process, they bring all the relevant partners at the local level together. So looking beyond the vet belly button, if you want, so working with universities, working with research centers, companies, public employment services, regional development authorities, and really look at where a certain region wants to be in the next 5 or 10 years, and how can the vocational center make sure that they're providing the skills that are needed to support the strategic vision that the region has for its future. The call, similar to the one I've just mentioned of the sectoral blueprints, the call was published on the 25th of March. It is open until the 7th of September, and it will be repeated every year. We will have in the next 7 years 400 million euros to support 100 European platforms of centers of vocational excellence. The requirements we have is that at least 4 program countries must participate. We need 8 full partners, and in each country, to emphasize this need of partnerships between the education and companies, employers, we want that in each country at least there should be 1 vet provider and 1 company representative. Of course, if universities are there, it's also excellent. If you have public employment services, regional development, that's excellent, but these are the minimum requirements if you want. And we also funding grants of 4 million euros for projects lasting 4 years. Just to conclude, the idea is that the Centers of Vocational Excellence, remember I told you it's to support the co-creation of skills ecosystems for the local region. However, because if you just look at yourself and you don't look at what is happening in the world, you are missing out on the big picture. So what we want is, it's true that at the end of the day, it is the vocational centers that we want to improve, to modernize, working at a local level, but they do so by establishing transnational networks so that, for example, ISQ in Portugal can work with STC in Rotterdam in order to see how they are approaching partnerships, how they are incentivizing entrepreneurial attitudes or research, applied research, so that they work together and then they apply that learning that is a result of this working together in the local level. So very much what Margarida was saying, think global, act local. So understand what is going out in the world, but then at the end, make sure that it is your local ecosystem that you are supporting. The key success factors for Centers of Vocational Excellence, so what we'll be looking at in the project is that, first of all, the project is based on strong partnerships that go beyond simply looking at this project, in which the education and training entities look at partnerships as sort of their DNA, not because they just want money for this particular project, but because they are thinking strategically that partnerships is the way forward if we want to make sure that the education system is relevant for what the economy is needing. The second element, which is critical, is that whatever comes out of this project has to be linked with strategic frameworks. It can be of regional development. It can be of cluster strategies for the region. It can be about a smart specialization strategy, but this link must be there. Education linked to what are the strategic objectives, the strategic pool in a specific region. And then that the centers, the vocational centers, are doing much more than simply providing a qualification. It's not just receiving 1,000 students every year, going through the pipeline, 3 years of receiving education, and then take a diploma. No, it has to be much more than that. And I will now tell you what kind of activities we are talking about. We've clustered the typical kind of activities that are pursued by vocational centers and the 3 big clusters. One is teaching and training, with a set of activities that are typical of this. Another cluster, which is cooperation and partnerships, and the third one, governance and funding. Just very quickly to tell you what we mean by this, when we're talking about teaching and training, is looking at innovative curricula, looking at innovative ways of teaching and learning, working together with higher education institutes so that the vet centers are not just looking at themselves, looking outside it, developing new qualifications, working on guidance. So all of these elements that contribute to quality in teaching and training. The second set of activities, cooperation and partnership, is really looking at who is in the area, working with employers for apprenticeships, for internships, for sharing equipment, also for sending teachers to companies to understand what are the needs of companies, and sending trainers from companies to schools to improve their pedagogical skills. And the last cluster is on governance and funding, because we can have excellent ideas, but we don't have a sustainable way of funding our ideas, we're going nowhere. So of course, co-creating skills ecosystems, bringing the right partners together, looking at skills governance systems in the country, looking at financial models, what should be public funding, what should be private funding, the individuals paying themselves, and what should be the role of companies also contributing to upskilling and reskilling of people. So this is in essence what I wanted to share with you. We don't have much time. This is the last slide, just to tell you that what we are doing now is not, we're not starting it now. We already started in 2019 with a call for the Centers of Vocational Excellence. And we have these projects that are currently running, supported with Erasmus funding. And you have also the web pages there. So if you want more information on any of these Centers of Vocational Excellence that have already been funded. And as I said, in the next 7 years, we'll have 400 million euros to finance 100 more of these networks of vocational excellence. I know I was very fast, but you gave me a little bit of time. So if there's any question, I'm happy to answer. But in this last slide, you can also see more links if you want to go and get more information of what I've just shared with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, João, for your smooth presentation and for shortening as much as possible. It was very clear and fruitful. I think we have still the opportunity to have 1 or 2 questions to Mr. João Santos, either using the chat or raising your hand.
There are not any questions, either because people are really tired of hearing of me or because I was clear. I hope it's the second one. But in any case, if there's any doubts, you can send me an email. If I can, I'll be happy to answer. And we also have, you saw in the last slide, our executive agency, they have sort of a hotline if there's any doubts on it that we are happy to answer. But I hope it gave you an idea of how, if you want, for example, to start thinking of how you're going to put the SEM project results, if you want to transform them into something real in which the vet centers can, for example, work. You can have a network of vet centers throughout Europe that want to work on your curricula, and they want to do it and taking it forward, working on incubators, and how can, for example, your curricula and the way that you are developing your ideas under SAM, how can this be translated into the local level, in which the vet centers are then working with companies, are then trying to reskill people that have lost jobs because of the transitions, the green and digital transition, and need to find a job in the additive manufacturing sector, that you can work together, vet centers, public employment services, the adults that are going to be registered there as unemployed, provide them with the skills that will allow them to be equipped to new work opportunities. That's a little bit of the things that we are trying to do with the Centers of Vocational Excellence. So they are not competing with the blueprint, but they can be a complement. You see, we're not looking at the sectoral approach. It can also include a sectoral approach, but that's not necessarily our objective. You see, it's more wide. It's to modernize the vet system. That's what we want.
Definitely. And definitely within the SAM project, we are focused on creating this network of training organizations that share the same harmonized curricula and are underpinned by the same quality assurance system, but definitely that we saw here possibilities of strengthening collaboration with other training centers, in the logic of complementarity of expertise, and sharing resources, which is very important to guarantee that we can tackle all the levels of training.
Correct. Yeah, and it's not only sharing resources. Of course, that's very important. But you can imagine if you manage through the coves to have a network of centers throughout Europe, what this also means in terms of applied research projects that you can then do, mobility of learners, mobility of teachers and trainers. That if you have a set of vocational centers in Europe on additive manufacturing, for example, when you're thinking of the curriculum of the learners, you can even imagine part of this modules that you have created under your project, part of it can be taken in Spain, another part in Greece, and this can be funded also by Erasmus+. So you can also look how this can be a sort of a platform to then develop other forms of cooperation, which are much easier to do, because it's easier to send a learner that is learning on additive manufacturing to another country if these partnerships are growing throughout 4 years of a project. People know each other better, the teachers know each other better, the training institutions know each other better, and it's even easier to then recognize the learning objectives or the learning outcomes that people acquired abroad. So it can also be, ideal breeding ground for mobility opportunities, mobility as well as I said, applied research and so on. But we could go on for long. I don't want to. I don't want to ruin your session.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Also in the chat, while we were presenting the funding opportunities for skills that are provided by the Commission, we had the pool in the Slido where we ask which of the funding opportunities would be more beneficial for the organization participating with us today. And the majority, 75%, replied the Erasmus Plus program, because also we have in the majority organizations involved in training, followed by European Region and Development Fund and the REACT EU.
Good. I would say that don't forget about the Recovery and Resilience facility, because the member states are coming up with their plans, and in most of them you'll see that there's a big investment in skills. Be attentive in all of your countries what your member states are coming up with, because there's more than 600 billion euros that have been put at the disposal of the member states. Portugal, for example, in the next few years, 7 years, you're going to get more than 60 billion euros of all of these funds. 60 billion, it's 25 million euros per day on average. So it's a tremendous amount of money. Go and look at these national programs. Erasmus is important without any doubt, but look at your national programs. There's a lot of funding available there, and make good use of it and make sure that it is being used for education and training, and in particular that, of course, because that's my domain.
Thank you very much for pointing this, João. This time we need to conclude. Thank you everyone for attending and for engaging with us today. Also, we would like to have your feedback about this session and require your participation, this last participation, to give your feedback by filling in this survey so that we can improve the organization of future webinars. Also, in terms of the upcoming activities foreseen in SAM, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have these regular webinars every month. This month in July, we will have a second webinar next week, which is targeting case studies of the Portuguese industry related to additive manufacturing. And in August, we will have a pause in the webinars due to the summer break, but we will come back in September with more webinars. So thank you again. Have a nice day and keep following Sam in online. Visit our website and also our social channels. And in case you'd like to know more about the project, feel free to contact me or either of the organizations involved in the consortium. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you again for all the invited speakers for your contribution. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.